Hello, everyone, and welcome to Code First Girls MOOCs with Bank of America. I'm just going to wait for about a minute for people to come in, and then we'll get started. Okay, everyone, let's get started. So, hello, and so I need to check if I was on mute. Hello, and welcome to our MOOC this evening. So this is a one-off session where we'll be hearing all about careers in FinTech with Bank of America. So backstage, you'll have me, Amber. I'm from Code First Girls. So I'm a Code First Girls brand ambassador. So if you have any questions about Code First Girls or any other upcoming classes and events, please do put them in the YouTube chat and I'll do my absolute best to reply to them during the session. So I actually did the Code First Girls courses back in 2018, and today was my second day as a junior software engineer at American Express. So I actually completed the FinTech mentoring program with Bank of America and Code First Girls. So definitely check that out if you can. They just recently started, so I think they'll be opening up applications again next year. So we are absolutely delighted to have Bank of America partner with us today for this session. So we have Selena Pavan leading today's session. So a bit about Selena. So she leads the global fixed income, currencies, commodities, technology architecture, horizontal working with SMEs across the organization to drive and enable consistent technology strategy across the teams. And she manages the relationship with Code First Girls for the bank. She's also worked in various technology roles for Bank of America since 2009, and before that was working as a software engineer in various hedge funds, and started her career at Goldman Sachs. She holds an Masters in Engineering in Computing from Imperial College London and has 2 kids, the age of 6 and 9 years old, and hopefully they'll be on their best behavior tonight. She's on the board of trustees for STEMETS Futures, a charity encouraging more young girls and women to get into a career in STEM. So after the main content, we'll be joined by Mame, Mel, Lux, and Anita from Bank of America, and they'll be discussing about their experiences and opportunities within the company. So if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. We'll be able to answer some of them at the end of the session as well. And Code First Girls will be running other MOOCs in the next couple of months. So do have a look. These sessions will give you a great insight into technical languages and concepts. So I'll definitely share a link to that in the chat. And we also have several career switcher classes this upcoming month too. So if you're interested in that, definitely sign up to that. And also Code Fest Day 1 is on Thursday, and we're very fortunate enough to have Bank of America headlining sponsorship on day 1. Plus, we have the very last remaining tickets for Code Fest Day 2. And if you don't want to miss out on incredible tech talks from industry leaders, an opportunity to network with like-minded tech enthusiasts, plus a chance to visit the iconic Level 39 venue, I'll definitely post a link in the chat in an absolute second. And just to let you know that the YouTube video will be up for a week or 2 after the session today. So if you'd like to rewatch the content, which I'm sure many of you will, because the weather is absolutely gorgeous right now. So absolutely no judgments if you couldn't make it live. So you can do that by visiting the same YouTube link. I'll also be linking career opportunities at Bank of America for both uni students and career switchers in the chat. And also I'll post a link so you can read more about Code First Girls partnership with Bank of America. And of course, check out the Code First Girls podcast. Episode 1, Selena is a guest and she speaks more about what she does. And that's enough from me. I'm very happy to welcome Selena to tell us all about careers in FinTech at Bank of America. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for that fabulous introduction. Hi, as Amber said, my name is Selena Pavan and I work at Bank of America. And we're going to have a really great session today with a few of my colleagues talking about what it's really like to work in FinTech, getting lots of tips and advice for you to take away if you're thinking about working in FinTech. So without much ado, let me introduce you to my fantastic colleagues. So Marme, are you there? Hi, Marme. You're on mute, Marme, but do you want to just quickly introduce yourself, name, what you do at Bank of America, where you are in the world, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, hi. Thank you very much, Selena, and hello to everybody. So my name is Mame Osei. I work at Bank of America as a technology analyst. I actually joined last year, and I had experience interning with the bank in 2019 as well. I've always worked with Bank of America here in Dublin, and I work in a team called EMEA Linear Rates Technology. So what we do is that we provide technology for the traders who work with interest rates within the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region.
Awesome. Thanks, Marme. And what did you want to do when you grew up?
Yeah, right. Sorry about that. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a translator because I saw a movie called The Translator, and I thought it was really cool how, they could know all of those languages. But I got scared of that by my dad when the translators in the movie didn't really have a happy ending. So here I am as a computer scientist.
Fantastic, Marmy. It just shows you the influence that you have around from family and friends on your career decisions. Awesome. Okay, and now we've got Mel. Let's chat to Mel. Hi, Mel.
Hi, Selena.
Hi, quick introduction. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, of course. So I currently work in the automation team in Chester. So my day-to-day role involves working on an automation portal. So this involves all the reporting side of what my team does, all the statistics, and essentially a one-stop place for people to go and find out about our team, how the team's performing. And then we also have a side of the portal which is dedicated to on-call, so to help the team resolve issues and basically just make their life a bit easier to avoid them having to go through all these different steps. It's all contained within this one portal. And that includes our release process now too. So when we push new code out, the process is a lot easier. And instead of it taking about 4 or 5 hours, it now takes under an hour. So that's made the lives a lot easier for them. Yeah, so I think I said I'm based in Chester. And then the one thing I wanted to do when I grew up was basically I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just knew I enjoyed science and maths. So throughout A-levels, that's what I picked. And then I went to a university open day and I found out about computer science and I thought that sounded cool. So that's why I ended up doing maths and computer science at university. And then I did an internship with the bank and I really loved it and I really enjoyed it. And it was much more fun than I originally thought. So that's why I came back and I've come back as a graduate. So.
Awesome, Mel. Thank you so much. Anita?
Hi, Selena.
Hi, Anita. What do you do at Bank of America?
So I'm a data scientist lead in global corporate investment banking and sales technology. And I've been with the bank for about 8 years now. And I've worked on sort of building out several predictive models during my time here, ranging from sort of time series-based models to NLP, which is natural language processing. Probably the most impactful model that I've built to date has been within the equity capital markets business. And that basically looks at predicting investors that will buy shares in upcoming IPOs.
Cool.
And I'm based in the London office, and yeah, looking forward to getting back to the office soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting up with everybody on that. And Anita, just before we move to Lux, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So I actually wanted to be a detective when I was growing up because I like the idea of sort of solving problems, solving crimes. But then I felt that maybe sort of the criminal nature wasn't sort of something that I would be best suited to. So I felt that maybe I could take those skills of problem solving and take them to maths and computing, and then that's kind of where I ended up.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Anita. And last but not least, Lux.
Hi, Selena, and hello,
Hi.
everyone. Hi. Yes, my name is Lux Mahendran, and I have recently joined Bank of America, and I am a senior campus recruiter here. So if you join us for an internship or a graduate program, you're part of my world while you're in those programs before you go off into the bank. So I'm based in London at the moment. And what did I? Well, when I was younger, I wanted to be a boxer when I grew up. So a bit of a change of career path. Recruitment's only slightly less combative than boxing, and now I'm here. So pleasure to meet you.
No worries. It's really interesting hearing how people's kind of thoughts about careers change and what influences them. So thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. Now we're going to go and chat to Mame and Mel next about their experience. And what we really wanted to do today is really delve into what it's really like to work at our firm and work in technology in financial services. So I'm going to start with Mame first. What's a typical day for you? Is it just sat down coding all day on your own? What is it like for you, Mame, in your group?
That's a really interesting question, Selena. So it's not just sitting down and writing code in a corner of my house now. A lot of the time I spend talking to clients. Because we work in technology, or for the parts of technology that I work with, we don't really have external clients because we don't ship our products externally. So our clients would be other teams within the bank. I spend a lot of time, liaising in between them and the rest of my team. And I also spend a lot of time just assessing my code, testing it out, working through it and debugging it. And also going back to pre-existing code to suggest the way that those pieces of code can be improved or enhanced to cope with the ever-changing environment and space that we have currently. But aside just doing work on the desk, there's a lot of learning opportunities in the bank. So I spend quite a lot of time using the tools that we have to get some new technical skills, or doing compliance courses and training. I also use a lot of my time to do volunteering, which the bank offers me to do. So sometimes we talk a lot in Women in Technology and Operations, and even just working with people in other organizations like Code First Girls.
Awesome. And Mel, just over to you. How does your role contrast to Mame's? Is it similar, different?
Yeah, I think it's similar in some ways. I think I definitely do a lot more coding, but at the same time, it's not I sit there and code nonstop every day, no breaks, just stuck in a corner like Mame said. It's definitely not like that at all. I do enjoy the coding side, and that is why I chose the role I chose. So I do the coding for the portal element that I was discussing earlier. But as part of the team, we also have a daily meeting where we stand up and we discuss how the things are going with what we're working on, if there's any changes to be made. We have a 3-weekly release as well, so we have a lot of planning involved around that. And we have what's called UAT, so we push to there where the users will test before we push to production. So that's a big part as well. Everything's kind of centered around that and making sure that all the documentation to go with that, all the tests and scenarios are all well documented. As Mame said, there's also lots of troubleshooting. So I'm not just sat here on my own and there's a problem and I think, oh God, I'm just going to be staring at the wall for hours. I can happily message a teammate and we can work on something together. It's definitely not just solid coding. And similar to today, for example, we had a few calls to discuss enhancements that we wanted to make. So that was about half an hour discussing what could be improved, how we go about it, the best way to do it. and making sure those sort of things are accounted for as well.
Cool. And Mame, do you have any, what's it like working with a trading desk where, you know, how do you deal with that, dealing with, you know, traders? You kind of, everyone's got the stereotype of, you know, Wall Street and, you know, what it's like. Is it really like that? Is it lots of people shouting? Is it?
Well, no, but I do find that due to the nature of the job of the traders, they tend to be a bit stern on their requirements because it's very high pressure and they're expected to deliver a lot. And so because we facilitate the work that they do have quite a lot of stern requirements on us. So a lot of it involves, stakeholder management, like we would say. A lot of the work is, just sometimes gathering the courage to tell someone who was really looking forward to something that we're not going to be able to ship this out to you, or we might be able to find a workaround. It goes well a lot of the time. Sometimes you have to deal with, managing the situation a bit more and coming to some kind of compromise. But a lot of the time it's good. It's not the stereotype of, a loud trader yelling from across the floor to somebody asking them for something. And we also do work a lot of our work has to do with the people on the finance desks. So they are in between the traders and us. Yes, so it's not difficult. It's like you would expect any support role to be. Quite there's a lot of expectations and pressures, but once you're on your feet and you're constantly able to ship out the right things and you have good justifications for what you do, you're always going to have a smooth ride.
And back to you, Mel. What's been the most rewarding thing about working on your system? Could you give us an idea about scale of how big it is, where your users are? Just give the audience a bit of an idea of a bit more idea of how big this system is that you're working on.
Yeah, of course. So it's actually global. So it caters for all of the incidents and events in the bank. So that could be something as simple as a server going down and our automation would automatically pick that up and restart it. So we have about between 2,000 and 3,000 a day, and that could be something minor. It could be, something a bit bigger, and they're all dealt with by our automation. So that's what's displayed on our dashboard, so we can see how the automations are performing, what the outcome is of the automation. So if it's remediated the problem, fixed it completely, or if it's just diagnosed the problem, said this is the issue, it's done all the troubleshooting and it's passing it off to someone who can deal with it. So it is very large scale, but it's also very rewarding because I work in a global team as well. So I've got people from India and the USA who I work with. So that's very cool. It's been great to work in such a global team. But it's definitely quite a big scale, which is something I definitely didn't realize when I joined. But I think that's the rewarding element in a way, because I make these changes and I see that that's my code and that's out there and it's making a difference. So that's a big thing for me.
How do you feel before releases? Do you get nervous, like before your code gets shipped out?
Well, it's always well tested and we have to document all the testing. So there's a small amount of nerves, but normally I already know it should work. So that takes a large element away from it, knowing it's well tested. It's been, I've discussed it with my teammates and they've said they're happy, the code looks good. So it helps identify any bugs beforehand. And as I said earlier, we have the UAT testing as well. So we have about a week or two of where it's just purely testing everything that's going in the next release to make sure any issues are identified before it hits the main stage, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really critical. Your system is watching out for other things going down or having problems. So if your code doesn't work, it could be, affecting the bank in, revenue loss or something like that. So I think that's really impressive on there. Mame, anything else to add on kind of like the systems that you work on? Is it kind of similar? Is it global or is it regional? Now, how big is it?
So I also work on a global system. So what that system does is we support, like I said, the traders who deal in the trading of interest rates. So what that system does is that it's able to calculate the profits and loss of all the interest rates that the traders, are dealing in at a given point in time. And it's also able to come up with some metrics that tell the traders about the risk associated with the trades that they're making. So it just helps them make really informed decisions on their transactions that they make, because they're able to tell if some trade is worth making in the first place or not. And with high risk comes high reward. So they might want to risk some trade, but then they would also want to be able to know what other trades they can make to hedge the risk around that trade. So all those numbers come together on the work that my team does. And we do it for I work on the side that supports the EMEA region. So that's Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But it's the system supports the Asia and Pacific regions like Australia and Singapore, and then it also supports the Americas like Canada and the United States. So we work across the entire clock, and we have certain segmented teams. Like we get support from people in Chester like Mel, and then we also have QA. In quality assurance in India, who constantly look through our numbers and make sure that they line up and there isn't some weird unexplained loss that we can't account for or the traders don't understand. So it's quite intense, not only on regional scale, but at the end of the day, when we reconcile all the trades that we're calculating numbers for each region, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of trades at the close of each day. So it's quite computationally heavy because there's millions, well, millions is maybe a bit high, but hundreds of numbers they want to see for each of those hundreds of thousands of trades. So that's millions of computations.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that leads me on nicely to my next question about, how much did you know about finance before joining and getting into FinTech? Do you need to know loads? Do you need to do economics before, joining? How much do you need, Mame?
I wouldn't say that you need a lot or any experience with finance. So before I joined the bank, the university I went to was a liberal arts university. So there were finance courses that everybody had to take compulsorily. That gives you a really high level overview of everything that you're going to be doing in terms of finance. But it might get you some of the way, but not all the way. And then I know people who had zero experience with finance as well, who currently sit on my team. But I would say the best way to learn, or what I found is that the best way to learn is just to get your hands dirty, like jump in and do the work. You would always have somebody who has more experience who would be able to help you. And then you come in not knowing much, you keep working on something. Every day you ask someone what some acronym stands for and what the significance of that acronym means to the work that you do. And with time, you'd find yourself building a lot of capacity to be able to proficiently, and make meaningful contributions on your team. So I wouldn't say you need to have any sort of degree or knowledge beforehand in finance. Everything that you need to do in your team, you can learn it on the job, and you most definitely will.
Cool. And Mel, anything else to add there? I mean, how do you overcome that feeling of, if you don't know what people are talking about from a business perspective about finance? How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, I just completely echo what Mame said, really. So before I joined, I'd done one mathematical modelling and finance module, but I don't think that prepared me in any way, to be honest. It maybe dealt with some of the numbers side of how to calculate some things in finance, but in terms of the acronyms you come across, I still learn about new ones all the time. And I think it's largely one thing to learn things theoretically, but the main experience you get is from actually industry practice and learning on the job, speaking to teammates with lots of experience, like Mame said. And for most people, no question is too, well, for every person I've ever asked, no question's too small. Everyone's willing to help and pass on their knowledge. And I think the more you get involved with things, even say if it's not something you're working on, but it's something you're interested in, and you just say, oh, hey, how did you do that? Or, hey, what are you working on this week? Just speaking with colleagues is a big thing of how I've learned so much. So not unlike Mame, I'm not quite so involved in the finance side, but speaking to people, and we have plenty of learning opportunities within the bank. I've picked a lot of it up, and it's great to learn about that side of things as well. But I just think take all the opportunities you can and build on your knowledge. It just only gains better and better with experience. So that's how I got around it.
Cool, thanks, Mel. I think that's a lot of us face that. I'm continually learning. I've been in the industry for 20 years. The market moves, instruments, financial products change. So it is a space where we're all, you know, no matter how experienced you are, we're all learning, you know, cryptocurrencies, you know, all those things that are coming. We all have to be continually learning. So I think it's a good skill for all of us to have coming in and continuing and having a successful career. I think one of the things as a mentor for the FinTech for our FinTech kind of mentoring scheme, as well as the nano degree that we've been doing with Code First Girls, is we found a lot of people are intimidated to even apply to a kind of a role in FinTech or financial services. Mel, what would you say to those people thinking, well, I don't think this kind of place, you know, I belong to this kind of place, or, you know, it's not really a place that I think I could fit in. Well, Mel, what would you say about that?
I would say forget about any stereotype that you've ever heard of. I think it's completely untrue, and from my experience, it's completely not like the films or wherever else TV series you may pick it up from. I think I can relate massively, as when I started my degree in maths and computer science, I'd never written one line of code before. So when I first started the course, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. There were some people who've been coding the whole life. They were flying through the course, like they were finishing it in an hour, and it was taking me a week. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to cope with this? But you put the hard work in and you ask people, and everyone's willing to help. And as long as you're not sat there twiddling your thumbs and expecting someone to do it for you, I think that you'll succeed. You'll do great. As long as you can put the work in and you're eager to learn, I don't think any stereotype's a problem. I think everyone has an opportunity to be part of it.
Cool. Mame, anything else to add about overcoming?
I think I agree definitely with what Mel said, but one thing I would definitely add is that when you get into this space, you realize that people don't expect you to be Warren Buffett or someone who has so much knowledge in this space in the first place, and everyone kind of like helps you to grow from that point forward. So definitely do put your foot in the door and give it a shot, because it's worth it. And just be confident in yourself, because with time you will grow in that space if you give it your best shot.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. You know, don't miss out on these great opportunities, these great careers that are global. I'll just add myself, when I was finishing university, I didn't even think the amount of things that I've done through my career, traveling, working with people all over the world. You know, that's something I definitely didn't think was something I'd ever achieve. So if we can do it, you can definitely do it. So don't feel like you should miss out just because you don't feel like it could be for you. So on there. We've got two more questions for you two. Mel, what's the one thing that you didn't expect from working in technology? What surprised you about kind of actually with your kind of start of your career?
Yeah, I think there's two things really. The first thing I sort of alluded to earlier, I didn't expect it to be, I knew I was going to work for a global company, but I didn't expect it to be like so big, such a high volume of, I suppose, everything about it. But on the same topic, I didn't expect it to be such a, I suppose, a family almost a family in the office. It's so nice when you go in, everyone's so friendly. I kind of expected everyone to sort of sit at the desk with the head down, do the work, and not much conversation, but it's so friendly. It's a big office, it's a biggish office, but it's like everyone you walk past in the corridor says hi. As Mami said earlier, there's so many volunteering opportunities, and it's great to go out with everyone and do things for the community, but also it's great to hear about work everyone else does, and everyone's always willing to chat. And if you want to learn about what another team does, it's literally no problem for anyone. Everyone's always so willing to give their time up. And suppose I thought I had the sort of stereotypical, it would be a bit snobbish. People would think, oh, no, I don't have time for that. But it's completely the opposite. People can't give you enough time, and everyone's so helpful. So I think that was a big thing for me.
Awesome. Mame, what surprised you about working in tech?
Well, a lot of the stuff Mel said, I had the same sentiment. But then something that stood out for me definitely was, the way that the tech industry is. A lot of things change really fast. So you find that people are constantly learning what's new to keep themselves sharp. But then I didn't know whether that would be the case in a financial tech industry, because you hardly ever find, say, a new way to calculate profits and loss, if I should say. But then when I got into the company, I saw that even people who were very strongly technology oriented were really good at picking up things that were on the business side as well. And that just goes to speak to the fact that, when you just being in a specific kind of space, you soak in the things that, surround you. So if you're afraid of navigating the learning curves because you don't have any experience in that space, I think it's very, very doable. So yeah, I do know that people who in technology learn fast, but then they're quite multifaceted. Like when I think about it in that sense, yeah.
Definitely agree. So on that point, Marmite, how do you keep up with what's going on in the tech world? What do you do?
A lot of it happens through conversation. So lucky for me, I live and work with two really good friends of mine who also work in Bank of America and who also work in technology. And so we're constantly sharing with each other things that we come across when we're online, or when we attend. A lot of the time we attend these talks that go on in the bank. Some people speak on new innovations that they've come up with, teams are coming up with in the bank. And a lot of them are really exciting, and you just follow up on them, read on them. There's lots of resources online. If you really want to chase up things to read, there's always something on YouTube that you can watch to give you a good tutorial. So it just keeps you really on edge, and at least it's good to know what's going on around you in that kind of way.
Mel, what would you add to that? What else do you do?
Yes, I think Marmy's covered it really well there. But just to add, I think I also like to look through LinkedIn sometimes, and even just through the people that I follow, having a scroll can be like actually very educational. It's the same with Facebook too. There's some good groups that you can follow at cons. If they remember the names, there's some that are like just called software engineers or something like that. And even some of them just give you good tips. I was scrolling through LinkedIn the other day, and there was like a good SQL cheat sheet, and it had like all the different commands. And I thought, like, I've never thought of putting that together myself. I saved it to my because you can save some of the articles if you find them interesting too. So sometimes ones I'll be scrolling along and I don't have lots of time, I'll save them and then I'll read them later, or when I have a spare moment in the day or whatever. So I found those articles to be really useful as well, especially because often the people that you follow on LinkedIn will have similar interests. So the stuff that they share is often relevant to what you'll be interested in.
Very cool. Okay. Thank you so much, Mame and Mel. We'll get back to you in the Q&A. Anita.
Hi there.
Where are you? There you are, Anita. Great. So Anita, tell us a little bit about data science. I'm not sure everyone knows what it is, and how did you get into it?
So essentially, the objective around the data science and machine learning models that we're trying to produce is we have lots of large data sets available to us, especially within the bank. And what we want to do is try and make meaningful future predictions from those data sets. So I actually got involved about 5 years ago with my first data science use case, where we were looking at sort of economic, social, and governance metrics and seeing how they relate to sort of stock prices, which was definitely a difficult ask. And there was a lot of background to that in the different data sets that we were looking at and seeing how we could put something together for this. The model itself didn't do very well. We couldn't really get a successful outcome of it. But what it really did was just sort of throw me into the deep end of how do I work with all these different data sets? How do I build a machine learning model? How do I get the outputs? And how do I keep going through iteratively improving and trying to make improvements on both the data sets that we have and plus the algorithm itself? So I definitely learned a lot about the different avenues that there were to try. So, I mean, we would start off with some approaches. If they wouldn't work out, we would move on to something else and kind of just see all the different things that you can explore when exploring not only the data sets, but the algorithms and the different types of algorithms that you can use as well. So once I kind of learned a lot on that aspect, we also were coming close to our annual hackathon Code Week event. And I thought it'd be great to kind of put in everything I'd learned from that project into a new use case, which was in equity capital markets, where they were trying to look at sort of investor profiles and kind of see what investors were investing in and what companies they had invested in the past to try and predict what investors would buy shares in upcoming IPOs, etc. So we put together like an initial prototype of this model within a week, just using some sort of
a week.
Yeah, it was quite a stressful 1 week because we also had the sort of the day job as well. But we tried to go through and find sort of the data sets and just take a small sample of that and see if there was anything in there, if there was anything of value. And we realized that we were really onto something soon afterwards. And when we presented this to the business, there was immediate business backing. And so then we went to build out a production-ready version of the model, first for EMEA in 2018, and then we built an Americas version of the model in 2019.
Wow, and then you won lots of awards after that.
Yes, we did. We won quite a few sort of external industry awards, which was great to kind of see the success of the project, especially that it came from a Code Week project.
And if you were to speak to your younger self now about making that leap into data science, did you have any doubt or any kind of thoughts about kind of going into that field, or was it kind of like completely obvious to you to just go for it?
It was a very new field, and I wasn't really sure what it would entail and how it would work out. But I think ever since I sort of joined the bank, I was always pushed towards the new products and sort of developing out new things. And so that has kind of set me up from when I started. I was working with a new sort of platform, which was around client experiences and Mercury and kind of an online portal, and building out new things for that. And then when this opportunity came up within data science, it was just, again, sort of a new opportunity. So I had experience with that before, and I was able to kind of just apply what I'd learned from the previous roles and just sort of see how I could apply it here. I just sort of thought it would be great to kind of also get some training around what I'd learned as well. So I then did a few courses post that. I think I learned a lot by just doing the actual job itself and creating the model. I felt like I learned a lot from that process. But then I wanted to reinforce sort of what I'd learned by attending a few training courses as well. And that helped me sort of understand the mathematics behind what I was doing, because I knew sort of the ideas and the concepts around it, but it didn't make sense to me why you would approach it that way until I understood the maths behind it as well.
Got it. Okay. So let's kind of change direction. My kids are now interrupting the feed. You're live. The world is watching you. Okay, sorry, Anita. So we're going to switch topics and talk about are kind of mentoring schemes. And I just wanted to talk to you from a perspective of being a mentor, and what made you decide to become a mentor?
I really wanted to try and inspire the younger generation. I felt that kind of the things that I've worked on are really exciting to me, and I'd like to try and inspire others if they wanted to get into that field or anything sort of related to technology. And I think the other thing that I was really interested in doing is trying to demystify what a career in fintech actually involves. Because when I was applying, and even when just deciding to study computing, I wasn't really sure what that would entail and what it would be like. And it was quite an eye opener. And then also sort of working at Bank of America as well, there was a lot of sort of new aspects to it. And I thankfully ended up really enjoying it and all the projects that I came across. But I realized it was sort of a very fine line. It could have gone the other way. So what I sort of strive to do is try and sort of show my experience, kind of what I've worked on both in computing and Bank of America, and try and sort of give an idea of what that experience is like to others, so they can kind of have a better idea if that's something that they would be interested in, or if, actually something else would be of more interest, and try and keep that as sort of general as possible. But if there's some aspects like data science or something that they are really interested in, I can definitely sort of speak to that and give them a better idea on that.
And I guess mentoring is two-way. So what have you learned from your mentees over the few years that you've done it?
Well, what I really love seeing is everyone's sort of passion and enthusiasm for technology. So I guess after I've had a really long day at work and I may not be as enthusiastic about what I do, it's great to kind of have that and kind of reinforce that actually, yeah, I do like my job, and there is great aspects to it and the projects that I work on. So just seeing that enthusiasm, it sort of lifts me up as well and lets me sort of get back into kind of the problems that I'm looking to solve, and the projects that I'm working on as well. And also I kind of have quite a focus on one area, which is data science, but there's a lot of other technologies and new technologies out there. And I feel the mentees that I've had in the past as well are very up to date with all these latest technologies, and it's great to kind of have these conversations with them and find out about new areas that I may not know as much about, and kind of read up on it on myself as well.
Cool. And outside the kind of technology aspect, are there kind of common themes that mentees come to you with, like common questions about getting a job, about applying, interviews? Is there anything that you've seen?
Yeah, I think the common thing is sort of when you sort of see a job role appear, the common question is kind of, would I have the skill set required for that? And I think that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to instill in my mentees, that just have the confidence of applying for the role. You probably do have the skill set, and you just sort of need to go for it and sort of apply, because the worst thing is that, okay, you may not get that job, but there's others out there that you will sort of can work towards, and every sort of experience is as a learning experience if you treat it as such, and you can sort of take those any sort of failures and learn from them, and then move forward into the next sort of experience that you're looking to, and the next opportunity that you're looking to do. And also it's kind of just also starting to build up that network, because maybe you weren't right for that job at that time, and you sort of can always, they may reach out to you at a later stage if they like your application, etc. And there may be a role for you that's more suited to you in the future.
Yeah, I always think it's hard getting rejection and dealing with that, but it's another learning point, another data point to see what else you can do and learn from that and move on. But it's how do you stay resilient in those situations? Anita, have you had anything where it's not gone quite to plan and you've had to learn from that?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably taking it back to that first modeling use case that I had, it went on for several sort of months, and every sort of few weeks we would have some sort of stumbling block or area where we wouldn't be able to get any results, and it was just a very disheartening experience. Even though we were trying all these different avenues, nothing sort of seemed to be working. And at the end of the day, the issue was that the business statement, the business problem that we were trying to solve was just too complex, and it wasn't going to be solvable. But what we sort of had to try and do is just keep our morale and try all these different avenues. And so say if this doesn't work, we can try this and try in different sort of data sets and just sort of keep going to see what other, what we could achieve, at least what was possible, and see if that was enough. And at the end of the day, when we realized that this wasn't something that could be solvable, we sort of knew when to kind of call it a day, and then realized that there's other areas in the bank where this would be more applicable, where we could try this out. And then that's kind of where everything took off.
Wow,
The second models, etc.
Cool. So thank you so much, Anita. Now we're on to Lux. Talk about what other opportunities are at Bank of America at the moment. So Lux, you know, it's coming to recruitment season. Could you just give us a few highlights of what are the kind of early career tech roles opening up at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it is the campus season now, and we are at a stage where we have opened all of our programs, so they're all available to be viewed online and applied to. So we have a number of offerings that are aimed at different years of study at university. And so if we start with first year students, we have something called a spring week, which is an insight week that happens around April in the year. And it's a short week where you get a snapshot of different areas of the business and get to see the different departments and lines of business. And it's really a good way of helping you kind of discover maybe where you'd fit in, where that would be, meeting the business, seeing the office in a post-COVID world, and getting a real feel for the bank. So that's for first years. For second years, we have a summer internship program, and that occurs in between your second and your third year of study there. So it's a 10-week internship. So we have one specifically in technology. So if you are interested in technology, we do have one based in technology and be in one of our various technology teams. And there is quite a large variety of job roles and areas of the bank that technology touches. And through this program, you can find one of those teams and spend some time there and do some real work, take on some real tasks, and get a taster to see whether this is really the career that you'd want to do, and meet some more of our people and discover where exactly your niche is. And then finally, for final year students, we also have a graduate program, and you've just heard from some of our graduates on program there, and that is a program with a quite a comprehensive training program that really gives you all the tools you need to be great at your role, and then eventually join the bank in an area that you really enjoy. So yes,
Cool.
offerings for every year.
I wish I had a spring week. I mean, I'm so jealous of everyone who does it, because you just meet so many different people, so many different areas that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of, and just get that choice and hear from so many great leaders as well as networking with the other students. And that's the same with the internship as well. But I just love the idea of having that 1 week where you can just have a bit of a taste buffet of different parts of the bank.
Yeah, buffet of roles.
Yeah, exactly. And you can really kind of sort out what you really don't want to do. I think that's really important to think that, it's all about just learning and testing and, seeing what you do want to do or what you don't want to do, what kind of roles there. So I think that's fantastic to have that opportunity. So if you have that, don't be shy, test it out. It's just, a great way to kind of see what your options are and get that wider perspective on that. So one more, kind of two more questions I've got for you. So what are the top skills? Obviously a lot of people may not have direct industry experience. So how do you pick people? What are the top skills that you're looking for in applications for these roles?
Yeah, I guess across the board, it's sort of passion for the area that you're applying for. I know that kind of sounds cliche, but it really does. It really is key. So in this case, you know, a real passion for technology, the world of technology, and seeing how technology is changing our world and wanting to be part of that and part of that story. And that is key. I mean, in any role you join, if you really have a sort of a passion, borderline obsession for it, I think then it doesn't really feel like work. It will be far more enjoyable. You'll find yourself far better at the role as you go through it. So definitely passion for technology, I guess. And an interest in banking and finance, I would say. It's not, as we've heard earlier, it's not necessary that you know how to trade, for example, or you know can discuss the stock market, etc. But maybe an interest into the field and wanting to build that is key here as well. And I think a sort of innovator sort of mindset, forward thinking, and an innovation sort of hat on. And if you can really demonstrate that there is key as well. Again, an incredibly fast-paced, changing sort of industry, and so we're hoping that we can find some innovators to come and help us change pace with the changing world here. So those are really key, and then underlining that, I think communication and being able to work as part of a team. So depending on different roles in technology, you'd either be working as part of an agile team or liaising with the business as well, which includes strong communication and teamwork in there as well. So yeah, those together there, you know, with a bit of hunger and drive, and yes, we'd love to see those individuals in an assessment center with us.
Cool. And you know, when you get to that kind of interview stage, you know, what are the top 3 tips for kind of preparing for interviews or assessment centers that you would give people?
Again, the first one's a little cliche. It is to be yourself. I think we touched on it earlier here in this discussion, where sort of the perception of maybe what banking is or working at Bank of America, it again can be severely dramatized by things like movies, etc. And then you can sometimes see individuals coming and trying to portray
centers. Obviously not at Bank of America, but in the past, have you seen?
We've seen individuals think that they have to play a character in that sort of mindset, and that isn't right. I mean, to be yourself really is the best way. And again, if you're in there in a room communicating, communicating the reasons you are sort of wanting the role that you're applying for, in a really genuine and concise way, that is the best way to come across. It is,
because you guys can spot that a mile off, I bet. So.
I tell you, after thousands of interviews, you really can. So that would be the number one thing I would say, and then I guess showcase yourself. I think I've seen, you know, I think maybe more so in technology than you would say with traders. I would see maybe a more reserved way, instead of showcasing some of the great work that some of the tech students I see have worked on. They seem more reserved and maybe a little too humble for the world of an interview room. So when in the interview room, you know, do really shout it from the rooftops, the work you've done, right? What the great work you've done at universities, for example, the extra projects you've taken on, and the areas you really enjoy. I think those are key. And then I guess maybe finally, as always, research the company and the types of roles available, and again communicate how that fits into your long-term career plan and why you want to join. So I think those 3 would be key there.
That's great. Thanks, Lux. Right, I've got one parting bit of advice from everybody. So if we bring everyone back onto the screen. Awesome. So one thing before we get into the Q&A, what's one piece of advice that you would give the audience to help them get into tech? So let's start with Lux, as you're muted. What's your parting bit of advice?
Okay, my very practical, I think, is do not wait for the deadline. I made this mistake myself at university and waited for the deadlines, but we recruit on a rolling basis. So applying earlier, it will always give you a far better chance of making it through the application and selection process. So that would be mine.
That's an awesome piece of advice. I've heard it too many times, and I've seen it too many times with our recruitment, that the earlier you get going with it, the earlier you get it in, it's just much better. Thank you, Lux. Mel, what's your one piece of advice?
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned a bit of making sure that you are going for opportunities and not letting anything hold you back. So just wanted to go for a different piece of advice. I think I've already mentioned that one. So I just wanted to say, I think you should never underestimate the power of your network. So I think reaching out to people on LinkedIn, speaking to people, that sort of thing. And even when you get into a role yourself, even just having friends and teammates from other teams can be a huge thing. If you're facing a problem in your role, knowing someone who can help in another team can help remediate an issue a lot faster, and it's definitely a good way to learn new things.
Awesome. Thanks, Mel. Mame?
Just to follow up with what Mel said, I would say that always put your best foot forward when you're putting yourself out to work in technology or apply for any role, or even when you're interacting with people in your network, because you want to be able to present yourself in a way that not only boosts your own confidence, but also boosts the people around you's confidence in you. That goes a long way to, help you on days when you can't even count on your own self. So be prepared and always put your best foot forward.
Thank you, Mame. And last but not least, Anita.
So just to reiterate kind of what I said before, just to be confident in your abilities. I think everyone's capable of more things than they think. And I would say don't be afraid of taking a challenge, kind of accept the risk and go for it. I think you'd probably regret not taking it more.
Awesome. Thanks, Anita. So I think that's most of our questions done that I had, but I'm keen to hear from the audience. So Amber, our
Hello.
able assistant. Hello.
Yes, I love all the advice that you've been giving. I've just been posting a few of it in the comment section. So we'll go in order. First from Janine. Janine asks, I'd love to know what everyone's motivation was to work in FinTech.
Oh, okay. Shall I start and we just go round, Amber? Is that how we?
Yep.
Yep. So working in FinTech, I just needed a job, a summer job. I didn't know anything about banking. So sorry, Lux.
I'll put a note in.
So yeah, I just was applying, this is the oldie days before the internet. Went to the careers office and then was looking for an internship and applied. So not very smart. So I would not recommend that approach to your job hunt. But that was my route. Mel, over to you.
Thanks for the candor.
Yeah, I think for me it was not too dissimilar really. I did a maths and computer science degree, and out of the two, I much preferred the computer science side. So like Luke said earlier, I looked online for internships and I thought I'd try it out and see how I found it. And I did the year-long internship with the bank and I really enjoyed it, and that's what motivated me to come back again and get a job. So I'll pass back to Lux now.
Well, I guess I'm maybe not the tech part of Fin. Well, I mean, I'm part of the bank, but I guess from my perspective, it's almost why wouldn't you want to work in FinTech, especially in maybe the world we're in right now, technology and finance. The combination of both of them could be the linchpin that could help us tilt the world into a better place if we could make that better. So I think we certainly need young people to come into the industry and help us move that needle.
Great.
Anita?
And Mame, Anita, do you want to take it too?
Sure, I can go for it. So with mine was similar to Selena's and Mel's, where I had done an internship with Bank of America my second year because I wanted to find out a bit more about the banking side, and then I thought I'd do an internship with a technology-based company the following year. But I really enjoyed the internship with Bank of America, and I knew that that's where I wanted to sort of join after I graduated.
And last but not least, Mame.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually didn't have any, I wasn't really looking forward to working in the fintech industry per se. It was just before the summer, and everybody was busy getting in their applications for some internship. And so before the summer had ended, what happened is that recruiters from Bank of America used to come down to talk to people in my school. So I met a few people from Bank of America and had a few conversations with them. And I didn't know much or anything about finance at that point, but then they were just really warm and inviting, if I should say. So I just thought, these people would be nice people to work with. And then I found myself ending up in the fintech industry, but then I didn't know anything, about finance.
Thank you all for sharing. So Karishma asks, what's the coding language used at Bank of America? So does someone want to explain the various tech stacks that you work with?
Oh, I'll take that one and everyone else jump in. So we have multiple technologies. We're a massive technology company, essentially in financial services. So we're a very big Python house in the global market side of the world, but we do have, I think, 8 lines of business that use multiple different languages and technologies, even have mainframes as well, crunching the numbers too. So it's varied and wide, is what I would say. But anyone else want to add anything there?
I'd just add and I'd echo what you said, really. So I use Python, React, JavaScript, SQL. We use pretty much a lot of different languages, but I quite enjoy that as well because I think it means that you're up to date and you keep learning and you're not just relying on learning one language. You've got a lot to pick up. But yeah, I like it. I like the fact we use lots of different languages.
Yeah, same thing for me. I work on the global market side, like Selena said. So I work a lot mostly in Python. But then there's some area of the work that we do that Java is more suited to. So sometimes we work in Java as well. But then it depends on, the solution that the team is going to deliver, and that would determine the kind of language is best suited to implement that solution. So it's varied.
We predominantly use Python within the data science space, but we do have a lot of business users that still use R, so that we've had to kind of get up to speed on that as well. But when I first started, I worked predominantly in Java and JavaScript, so it's been quite a different variety of languages.
Thank you so much, everyone. So Poppy says, do you have any advice for non-STEM students trying to get into tech? Thanks.
I can take this one. So I've recently volunteered for Career First Girls and I've run 2 courses. So I would do a big plug there for you guys and say that that's a great way to get into tech. And it's the courses go completely from scratch even. So you don't have to have any prior knowledge at all. And there's plenty of instructors on the team. So if you have any questions, you can ask it in the chat or you can ask it live in the actual session itself. But if you don't feel confident enough at that as well, you have the Slack channel available to get support at any time during the program. So I'd definitely say that's a good place to start.
And I just echo Lux's advice about demonstrating your passion for technology on that, of what is it about tech that's interested you? What have you done kind of on your own? You've taken your own initiative to build, do you have some hobby projects that you're passionate about, whether it's, your music or cinema, films, there's a lot of things that you can do from home that you can show that you've got the skills and the aptitude to do it and learn as well.
Great. Does anyone else have anything to add before I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I can add one
sorry,
more thing.
if we're still on.
Sorry,
Mame,
Lottie.
do you want to go
Right.
first? Then we can go to Lux.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, so I was going to say that anytime that you come across a problem that you wish there was a solution to, try to see if there's a way that you can provide that solution yourself technologically. That was how I started learning how to code. So I remember that the first thing I ever wrote in my life was a music player. It wasn't a good looking one, but then I didn't like the existing one, so I made my own version. You can honestly find everything you need to do online, and there's tutorials. So if you have any problem, just find out, literally Google how to do XYZ in whichever language that you want to learn, and you would always find somewhere that will take you through the basics from scratch up to completion. It's a really great way to build your skill. And not to be afraid about the fact that you don't know anything about STEM, because I went to high school with people who took mainly art subjects and humanities subjects, but then they ended up going into university and taking the bold step of doing computer science with me. And a lot of them are working in really big technological companies and other fintech industries as well. So if it's been done before, you can definitely do it as well. Just take the step.
And Lux, to you.
Yes, and I'm noticing my internet's on its last legs here, so hopefully I'll get through before I get kicked out. But again, maybe more practical again, or would be to demonstrate self-learning on your application. Demonstrate self-learning outside of your maybe university or your current career. And then show evidence of exploration into this industry. I think those two things would be very key in the process of applying into a tech role from non-STEM students.
Thank you so much, everyone. So Tony has a problem. So Tony has done the basics in Python, however, is not confident enough to put it on their CV because they feel as if they haven't learned as much as they should. Do you have any advice for Tony?
I think what I just mentioned there. So this is really a good example. It still demonstrates self-learning. It demonstrates that you are going about picking up those skills on your own accord, which then tells somebody like me, a recruiter, that it is something that you're very interested in. You are on that path and going down that path. Don't forget as well that we have a very, very comprehensive training program here. If you do join, and I really think mindset beats skill set every time. So demonstrating it, coming in here and growing with us is a very, very good way to go about that.
So I'm going to tell you a bit of truth about what it's like in the technology industry. So working in the tech industry, there is always someone that knows more than you about particular technology. So you can do a course in Python and you can say, oh, I know, I'm a Python developer, but there will be always someone to do that. So whenever you go to interview, you do have to put it down and demonstrate your learning. But make sure before you go to interview that you are prepared and you've reviewed what you said that you've done in your application. You've reviewed the basics of Python, because even the best people will forget really basic things that they've learned in for things. I mean, I'm sure everyone here has been there, but because the landscape is always changing. There's always going to be some expert somewhere that will know more about you, about Python. I work in architecture. That is another place where it's extremely humbling, where someone will know more than you on a particular pattern, a particular thing there. So it is something that if you're going to get into the tech industry, you've got to get used to, not knowing everything, because that is, a continual thing that you're always learning. So I just want to be really honest there, and don't be intimidated by that. If you've done some training, that's great, put it down, but do be prepared when people ask you about it.
Some great advice there. I think, Tony, I hope that helps. So Rachel asks, what are the opportunities for career switches? And I have linked that in the chat as well. I'll relink it.
So for career switches, we've got all our jobs on the portal. And again, if you are career switches, it's similar to, on the junior kind of opportunities of demonstrating why your career is switching into tech. What have you done? What is that self-learning piece that you've done to kind of add to your portfolio of skills that you've already got, and say that you are looking for that that opportunity. And when you kind of send your kind of CV through. Lux, I don't know if there's anything else to add, but that was kind of the things that came top of mind on if you're looking to get into tech and you're an experienced person.
I think you covered most of those points there. Yeah, echo, I'd say.
That's what we're pretty focused on with the nano degree scholars that we sponsored this year. Very, very similar kind of things that we've been saying to them.
Great. And Tony says, are 2021 graduates eligible to apply? I guess this is to the internship that you may have been speaking about earlier.
Yeah, well, so if you're in your final year or if you've already graduated, you should apply to the full-time role, the graduate role. If you do apply to the internship, you'll automatically be rejected. The internship is for penultimate year students. So the full-time role, yes, is open to current and recent graduates, and for 2021 graduates, you are eligible to apply.
Thanks, Lux. Okay. So, Shravanya, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Can those who are graduating from their master's degree in 2022 also apply for the graduate roles? And I think Lux is back, fortunately, to answer this question. Hi, Lux.
Sorry, I'm getting kicked out of this room at this moment.
It's
yeah,
fine.
did you catch the last bit of what I just said?
We literally caught it just on. Oh no, did we not? Okay,
I
no.
don't hear it.
Okay, no, we didn't.
Okay, so this is another question then, right?
Oh wait, we'll go back to Tony's
Yes,
question.
they can. So if you're right, yes. So short answer, yes, you're eligible to apply, but please the full-time role, the full-time program, not the internship.
And back to this question, can those who are graduating from their master's degree in 2022 also apply for the graduate roles?
Indeed, 100%, and we'd love to hear from you. So please do put an application in.
Great. And also, are there any entry-level roles in the data science field at the firm?
I mean, if it's outside of the campus stuff, if it's outside the internship and the full-time role and the spring week, it'd fall into experienced hire or lateral recruitment, and you can find all of those roles at careers.bankofamerica.com. And that is as in when there is a need. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on that. You can as well go on the website and set up an alert, so you get pinged the role if it's entry level and within technology. So a good idea to do that. So yes.
Cool. Thanks, Lux. And Ya Ying, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, is currently a postgraduate student majoring in accounting and considering developing accounting software in the future. Do I need to start to learn how to code now? And if so, how do I start? Thanks. Any advice?
Oh my goodness. Amber, you should be telling that advice.
I actually should, shouldn't I? Okay, so my degree was actually in economics and accounting. And so my first step to learning how to code was in 2018 when I signed up for Code First Girls. I did their web development course, and then afterwards I did their web application course. So now their Python course is very, very different. Before we're building web applications. So now the Python course actually prepares you to do a coding test if that's part of the application process for technology roles. I also did the Sky Get into Tech scheme, and that was very, very good in terms of learning Python. Oh gosh, I've got so many things I wasn't prepared to put on the spot because I also did the FinTech mentoring scheme with Bank of America and Code First Girls, and that definitely put me in the right direction in terms of I didn't actually understand what the various different programming languages were used for. I didn't understand that in a big bank you're mostly using Java because it's good for enterprise software. So long story short, definitely get started with Code First Girls. It's a great start. I would highly recommend learning Python as the first programming language, especially if you need to do some coding tests very quickly. And yeah, I would just say put yourself out there on LinkedIn, as others have said. So reach out to people. Definitely look into mentorship schemes. There's a lot of them, and keep in touch with your mentor. Last time I saw Selena at an event, I had admitted that, okay, I didn't keep in touch with my mentors, and I stuck to my word. And after that event, I had reached out to all three of them and just gave them an update on how well I was doing now. And they were so appreciative of that because they invest so much time into you. And they really do care about you and your development. So don't be shy. I definitely didn't reach out from a place of insecurity because it was 2020 and I felt like I had nothing to show for myself. And don't let that insecurity take over because I understand it definitely can and it's normal, but it's just about pushing through. I know I rambled a lot there. Please, anyone else?
I think that's absolutely right. Get coding now. Get on a course and start seeing whether you want to do it. At least, making sure you've got a better understanding and appreciation of what it takes to build applications.
Yeah, and that it's okay. It's perfectly okay to fail. I think that especially when I was teaching Code First Girls, people are very afraid just to fail and write down the wrong thing. But that's going to happen no matter how much experience you have. There's people who have been coding every day for 7 years and they're still failing on a day-to-day basis. So definitely don't be afraid to fail. I feel like that is definitely one of the biggest hinders when people actually learn how to code. You kind of just need to let yourself learn. It's a whole new learning experience, especially coming from an education system that almost teaches us to memorize all these things for our exams.
Perfect all the time. You need to get the top grades.
Yeah, I need to get the top grades. I need to remember all these things and kind of just throw that out into an exam. But coding is very practical. And when people say that the best way to learn how to code is by building projects, believe them. There's definitely a reason why everyone keeps saying that. I did not want to believe them straight away. I was kind of in denial. I was like, no, I just want to do the fundamentals because it was comfortable. And doing a project can be very daunting and scary. But remember, you're not alone. There's so many people also learning how to code. So again, reach out to any communities that you're part of that are out there. There's loads of in tech. There's loads of Code First Girls alumni who are also on their journey to landing their first career in technology too. And I'm going to stop talking now. Don't get me started because I won't stop. Does anyone else have any advice as well? I can move on to the next question. We good? Okay, so I have Tony again. What is the recruitment process and what is the work culture of Bank of America?
Oh, let's start with the work culture. And I think Mel's spoken a lot about it already. And then we can go to Lux for the recruitment process.
Yeah, I think the work culture is not the typical everyone sits at the desk and doesn't move all day. I think that was what I thought it would be like. But in fact, it's more about you get the work done, but also you can have a chat. You can go out for a walk at lunch with your teammates or go for food at lunch. It's a lot more, I suppose, friendly than I thought it would be. You're there to work, but also you're not there to just sit there and do nothing but work all day. You're there to mix with your colleagues and It's okay to go and grab a coffee or get chatting to someone when you're filling your water bottle up, and that's all part of the work culture and the sort of family element. And like I said, everyone's happy to talk to you about work, but also anything you've got going on in your life, there's always also people there to help with that and to be a listening ear. So I think don't listen to the stereotypes. It's a really great place to work, and I assume that goes for all fintech companies as well. It's not what it's made out to be sometimes, and it's actually a really nice place to work. And as I said, also we have all the volunteering opportunities and things, and we have lots of networks. So I'm part of the Women in Technology network. I've also done the volunteering for Code First Girls and things. So there's so much to get involved with, and so many different opportunities. So,
Mame, how's Dublin? Is it different in Dublin? How have you found it?
It's not different in Dublin. It's pretty much the same. We're a much smaller office from what I hear. It's like in London, sorry. But the culture there is pretty close knit. Everybody kind of knows everybody in the office. We usually go out after work, go to a pub, or just catch food, catch coffee. There's always some kind of like volunteering or charity events going on in the Dublin office. So you and your teammates would decide if you want to run a marathon or do stuff together. It's really cool. And then we allow, because of the networks, a lot of the time, I remember there was this one event where Witano has this pillar called the Early Pipeline that deals with encouraging younger people to consider careers in STEM. And we would have associates bring over their young children to come in the office, and then we would teach them how to, work with the Raspberry Pis or just the basics of coding or Scratch. And it's just fun to, have people be so free to bring their whole selves and even their families to work. And it's really a good place to work.
Anita, anything else to add from the London office?
I would just say I think my email covered it all, but I'd just say also I think what struck me when I first joined is just how willing everyone was to help out and kind of get me up to speed with everything, all the new sort of technologies that we're working with, and hasn't changed. Every sort of new project that we do, everyone works together, and it's a very collaborative atmosphere. I feel that everyone's always sort of willing to help and sort of carve out time. And if you're interested to apply in different areas, you can always reach out across the different lines of businesses. And everyone's always sort of willing to give their time and their experience in different areas. So it's a great sort of place to learn as well. And yeah, I definitely enjoy the sort of social aspects as well. So we always have some sort of event, and it's always great to kind of like meet up across the different lines of business, but then also with your team as well. We've set up sort of things like weekly badminton sessions before the pandemic, and kind of great ways to sort of socialize with the team, and then go for drinks afterwards, etc. It's been really great culture.
Cool.
Great.
Lux.
Shall I do the recruitment process then?
Please.
So yes, I'd probably be the most appropriate person here too. So I mean, it all begins with an application form online. But put together a nice CV and put it on an application online. There's no need for a cover letter, and I'm specifically speaking about the campus program now, but no need for a cover letter. The next thing that will happen is you'll be invited to a self-recorded video interview, which I know most people absolutely dread, but there's a wealth of information online that can help you put on a good self-recorded video interview, and really tell us why it is that you're applying and the sorts of roles you'd like to be considered for, and so after that video interview, your details would come to our team here, our recruitment team, and we'd look through your details, and would pick from the application pool candidates that the strongest candidates, and put them through to a final interview or assessment day. And on this day, you'll have a mixture of a combination of competency interviews and a technical interview. And that's it really. If you were to following that, if you were successful, we would be making you an offer to whichever program you'd been applying to at that point. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the recruitment process.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one final question. So what skills do you find most useful in your role? I think this is an interesting one because a lot of people focus on the technical side. So it'd be great to speak about also some soft skills that are very useful within your roles.
Who do you want to start, Amber?
I was going to say, am I going to ask who starts? Are you going to, Selena? Let's start with Anita.
Sure. I think one of the soft skills that I find sort of most useful is just sort of having sort of management skills, so not only of your time, but because there's always like a lot of different projects that could be going on at the same time, so you'd want to manage your time accordingly across those. And if there's other interests that you have, there's always a sort of way to kind of like make sure that you get the most out of your day and make sure you do those the things that you're looking to do as well. And also the fact that we also work in EMEA and we have the 2 time zones, so we work also with teams in India and teams in the US. We sort of have to cover both time zones there. So just being able to sort of really hone in on your management skills, and then that comes into play later when you're sort of maybe looking after projects and you have to keep track of everything, all the different sort of components and parts as you deliver products. So I think, yeah, management of time is definitely a key skill I find most useful.
Perfect. Let's go to Mame.
Thanks. So the most important thing that I find that I need when I'm working is to be able to communicate effectively, because I think that I had mentioned earlier that I work a lot with the clients directly. So communicating effectively involves, letting clients know what you're going to deliver, letting them also know what you would not be able to deliver clearly, making sure that you communicate timelines. If there's any blockers, you flag them far advanced so that you don't put them at a disadvantage in the work that they do. And then the second, or probably the first most important thing, would be to be a very fast learner. Like, you should always be ready to hit the ground running, because you're going to come across, especially in this kind of environment, we're very highly regulated and we don't have a very huge risk appetite. So a lot of the things that you're going to encounter are going to be built in-house. So you're most probably going to Google a lot of things and not find the solution to them. You have to find them in-house. So you have to be ready to always talk to people and, just like open your mind to be ready to learn. So be a fast learner and communicate effectively.
Thank you so much. You want to go next, Mel?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'd pretty much add to what everyone else has said, but also teamwork skills. Obviously, you're going to be collaborating in a team, so you want to make sure you're communicating well, especially in my case, working on a project and that you're all contributing to. You want to make sure you understand what everyone else is doing. But also, in a sense, is not to be shy when you first join, because I know that at first I was like, oh, I don't want to ask any questions. I'm going to be pestering people. And I was like really nervous about people thinking, oh my God, why is she asking so much? But it's not the case at all. And sometimes, a lot of the time, that's the only way you're going to learn. And it's some of these things that there's no way you'd find out about it. As Mame said, a lot of things are in-house, and say acronyms that the bank uses, you can't Google, you can't find that out through Google. So you have to ask, and you just have to have the confidence. And actually, no one thinks you're asking too many questions. Everyone's more than happy to help and get you up to speed. So I think that's the main ones for me.
Thank you. Selena, do you want to take the question? And we can also go to Lux and ask what exactly you look for in people, and what skills you look for in the recruitment process as well.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So
you go first, or? Yeah.
I'll go first.
I love the tango.
What skills? Time management is probably the biggest thing. As you saw earlier, I have kids, so it is even more crucial than normal to be organized. I'm a big fan of bullet journaling. So if you need help organizing your life, I found that invaluable myself. Communication, I think everyone's said that, really key. And I think with communication, it's influencing. So I'm not talking about social media influencers. I'm talking about influencing your colleagues when you've got ideas and you want them to come along with you. And if you've got an idea for a new feature of your application, convincing them that we should be spending time with this. That's also important for us when we're dealing with a business, when we have to say we have to spend X millions of dollars on a new project. How do you convince that really busy trader that you need to do a particular thing and it's going to take 6 months? You need to be very clear and articulate about convincing them what are the business benefits, what's the disadvantages, what are the risks of not doing it, etc. So I spend a lot of my time working with my team on that and setting technology strategy as well. So that's quite exciting and the kind of like the softer skills side. Leadership skills. You're, even as an individual contributor, as a kind of an entry-level role, you need to demonstrate leadership skills, independence of thought, critical thinking, and these are all skills that you will grow as you get more senior. And asking really good questions. I think Mel said that, don't be scared of asking them, but do make sure that you have that critical eye. Ask the awkward questions that no one in the room has said, because that's what we expect from people who are new to the company, because they don't have any assumptions. So that's where you can add value from day one, regardless of level. And I'm always really impressed by people who ask those good questions, take that step back and ask, why are we doing this? Or, isn't that kind of, we're very focused on risk here at Bank of America as well. What risks are we having with certain processes? So we're looking after people's money. We're looking after our clients, and that's really important to have teammates that can do that and support that as a team. So those are the things that come to mind. Lux, over to you.
Yep.
Great. I think we already kind of mentioned the skills we look for in the application stuff. So I think we briefly touched on sort of the passion for technology and stuff, but maybe I could share what I think is a useful skill that can help you grow through your career. And one that I think is maybe not mentioned as much is to always be understanding how what you do and the area you work fits into the bigger picture. So then the wider team, and then the function, and then the bank, and so on. And they can really give you a good understanding of where you fit in, and then also good ideas of where you want to go next in your career path. So yes, always looking at the bigger picture. I think you can sum that up as.
Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed the MOOC. I hope everyone else has too. So thank you again, Selena, Mel, Anita, Lux, Mame, for providing your incredible insights. Everyone, please do remember that Bank of America is sponsoring day one of CodeFest. So definitely join that. It's you can join virtually as well. And also there's CodeFest day 2. There's an in-person event. I'll be there. So that if that counts for anything. So we can meet in person, level 39, and have a jolly well good time. And so yeah, I just want to thank everyone again for spending your evening with us and providing such incredible insight into Bank of America. And they are telling the truth when they say about their amazing culture. I didn't believe them at first, but it's true.
One more shameless plug. We are doing a Python MOOC on the 23rd of September. So if you want to if you haven't learnt to code yet and you want a taster, code along with us. It's really good fun, and you can ask the really basic questions on there. So that's the 23rd of September. Would love to see you there.
Perfect. Well, enjoy your evenings, everyone. The weather has gone downhill now, so So I guess not the weather anymore. I hope it was worth it. It was definitely worth it for me. I promise you that. And take care. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.